Hi, I'm MJ, and I'm from Linus Publications. And to follow up on Melissa Hortman's chart, we're going to be looking at the state of Minnesota. And the reason we're doing that is in many cases, when you have an incident occurring in a specific state, there are usually indications in the state chart, depending on how significant that event was. So if you did have an assassination and another assassination attempt, it's something that might show up in the charts. Now, if it's significant enough, it may actually show up in the USA chart. But in this case, we're just going to stop it at the Minnesota charts. So let's take a look at, we have three charts, the natal, progression, and solar arc. And I use all three of them typically for any time doing predictive work. And I'm not looking specifically at exact dates because this is an event that already happened. If it's stuff where I am doing a probability analysis, then I will have dates, things happen, so I can go back and check. This is, we already had it happen, and we're looking at why this, or what was the environment when this occurred. So let's take a look at what we have. In our natal chart, we have the inner part, which is Minnesota. And note, we don't have a time of birth for Minnesota, but we're really not looking for anything very exact here. We just sort of want to get an idea of the environment. And the outward portion is the transits for yesterday. So one of the things is that we've got a Uranus aspect. It's an angle, and that is change. Typically unexpected change, quick change, tends to, maybe change the trajectory of something. What is it happening on? Well, it's happening on Uranus and Jupiter. It's conjunct. That means it's definitely an emphasis on that. So Uranus, again, is change. So we're having change on top of change. Jupiter could be the political ideology of the state. So in effect, its values, its typically things like education, maybe sports related, religions in the state. And again, ideology also falls into that. So philosophy. So we have a change. And that is something that has been occurring to Minnesota. They had a change in the way the districts are done. So there's an indication that while GOP has been holding the legislation part of the government, that may change in 2026. May not, but that's sort of the base of what has been occurring. Now, Uranus is also opposing Mars. So we do have this Mars in the natal chart, Mars opposing Uranus and Jupiter. So that means there's conflicts. So this state will always be known for conflicts in their political ideologies, or in effect, things like education, the school system, religions. So they're always going to have heated conversations. Opposition, conflict. But when you now have Uranus sitting on both Uranus and Jupiter and opposing Mars here, that means conflicts are coming to the forefront. So it's making this more of an issue. What else do we have? I normally don't get into planets that are closer than Jupiter, but in some cases I will. And in this case, because this was an active aggression, I want to bring in Mars. What's Mars doing? Oh, it's adding fuel to the fire. It is making a square, in effect, to Uranus and Jupiter here, and a square to Uranus, square to Mars, its natal position. So this is bringing conflict more to the forefront, aggression. So we're thinking here, okay, this is taking it up a step. So now let's take a look at the next chart, which is the progression. In this case, what do we have? Again, we have Uranus and Jupiter. Again, changes possibly in political ideology. And it could be every time this is being touched or manipulated, maybe the government structure in Minnesota changes. Have to go back and research that at some point, maybe, but at this point, it is something to consider. Now, we have Mercury here, and in effect, what is this? Probably the changes that are occurring in the voices in the government. So we had recently been moving more towards a Democrat, and in 2026, the legislature might actually move into Democrat with a majority. Not to say it will, just saying that this is showing that this is an inconjunct, which means that it's a break and adjust. So this is heading in a direction where it's breaking from where it was, maybe moving to something else. So let's take a look at the next piece, which is the solar arc. And this is one that was really interesting. What's happening is that we have in the solar arc for Minnesota, we have Neptune and we have Saturn in a trine. And that's usually when it's moving, it's going to be trining. But what's happening is that we have Pluto here. And that's when it's trining up. Now, Saturn is not going to actually make the trine for another maybe 2 years. Neptune in about a year. That's bringing us to about the 2026 elections. So what we're happening is Neptune is trining Pluto, Saturn is trining Pluto. So right now, it looks like the ideology of the state may be changing. There are foundations being set. Pluto is foundations. Saturn is creating a structure. Neptune is setting the ideology. That's what's happening. So you may see the shift towards Democrats in 2026, or you may see a further shift to GOP. This will be fun to watch. Not fun, but interesting to watch, because what's happening here is we have Mars. Mars has made a conjunction on Pluto. What's that? It's aggression against the power. So in this case, is it aggression against all of this? Well, Mars is actually trying to Saturn and Neptune, but it is conjunct on Pluto, which can be explosive. So this could be either that it is furthering the change right now and it's angering or it's bringing up the hackles in the other party, or it could be that this is causing a change. So in effect, the party that's being forced out is trying to put itself more in there. So to recap, there's some power plays going on in the state of Minnesota, and this was likely because of a possible shift in power coming up in 2026. It's possible that this is something that's framing the politics there. I hope you enjoyed this. It's not something that would probably garner a lot of interest unless you're an astrologer, which I am. But I thought other people might be interested. So have a great day and goodbye.